last time.
I understand.
Thanks a bunch, sugar. Here we go.
I'm such an idiot. Conway reluctantly went behind the counter and sat on the stool. He didn't like breaking promises. Covering his head with the hood of his cloak, he must have looked like the creepiest receptionist in town. That substitute had better come soon. Unable to stand it, Conway drooped his shoulders. Then he heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Conway looked down reflexively, not wanting to be seen by other cats.
Hey.
Conway looked up at the familiar voice. Ray stood in front of the counter.
What are you doing over there?
Disbelief colored his voice. I've been asked a small favor.
By whom?
The innkeeper.
Why'd you ask?
He had errands to run, so he left.
Jesus.
The look in his eyes said it all. Ray turned away and sighed.
God, you're both dumb.
Rude.
Huh, that's such a sour face.
I look that weird?
Yeah, weird.
Huh? As if he wasn't feeling bad enough already. When the substitute receptionist finally arrived, Conway left the desk. It had only been a little while, but he was still exceptionally tired and finally headed for the room. It was a room made for two, without any special features. There were 2 beds, a small table, and a chair, and not much else. On the shelf stood a lamp, and in the corner of the room there was a barrel of water. It seemed there was a separate room for sanitary purposes, because in the corner of the second-floor hall there was a door with a small picture of a sand pile hung on it. Nice. Conway opened the window. It was nighttime, but the streets were as lively as ever, and the light flickered in the stalls of the street vendors. Conway let out a small sigh. He could finally relax. Ray was checking the wound from when Conway slashed him.
It's not a big deal. Show me yours.
I'm fine. Conway immediately stopped Ray's hand from pulling off his coat and shook his head. Though he knew about his ears and tail, Ray hadn't seen the marks on his body. Even though he might see them sooner or later, Conway still hesitated. He's talking about those tattoos he woke up with, after that, dream with the snakes all going inside his mouth. Conway looked down, his ears lying flat. Ray seemed unconvinced.
What is it? Just like show me already, God.
Ray took a long stride forward and seized his arm. Don't touch me! Conway instinctively drew his claws. The momentum flung his hood off. A red scratch ran over Ray's cheek, and Conway stared at him with wide eyes. He hadn't meant to do that. Ray wiped his cheek silently and regarded the blood on his hand.
To be wounded twice, by the same guy.
His voice was indifferent. There was no anger or bloodlust. It was cold, just like that blue eye of his. Conway clenched his hands into fists, looked down, and bit his lip.
What are you so worried about?
Your
ears and your tail? Even if black fur is a bad omen, the way you were covering yourself wasn't normal. I thought as much as when I saw you alone in the forest.
Even if their eyes didn't meet, Conway knew where Ray was looking. Conway could not keep hiding it. Maybe he was overthinking it. Now was as good a time as any. Just do it. Yeah, I mean, not every cat can be a superstitious asshole. And they're just tattoos, I mean, even if they are like a taboo. I mean, he doesn't seem to really fit into society himself either. Resolute, Conway raised his face. With his stiff fingers, he took off his coat. He took off his gauntlets, and his shoes as well. Ray's blue eye narrowed slightly.
This is...
Even when Conway looked at them again himself, the markings on his skin appeared ominously grotesque. In the flickering lamp's flame, they seemed ready to come alive at any moment. With a sense of regret rising up, Conway averted his eyes from Ray. What was Ray thinking right now? Wondering about it made Conway want to run away. Aw, buddy. Just want to give you a hug right now. However, Ray only took hold of Conway's arm to carefully study the markings.
Have you always had these?
No. I woke up like this one day. Same for my ears and tail.
Black markings, black ears, and a black tail. Signs of the legendary curse, yeah?
The muttered words made Conway's heart ache, so he drew back his arm from Ray's grasp.
This is what made you leave Kauru? You were trying to reach Ranson to find a cure.
Conway nodded slowly. I couldn't stay in my village. I had no choice but to travel to Ranson.
I see.
Ray folded his arms and leaned against the wall.
If this is from a curse, there must be a way to undo it.
Huh? Conway looked at Ray. His profile was lit by the glow of the lamp, softening his sharp features, but his eye was as piercing as ever.
You can't have exhausted every possibility, or am I wrong?
Maybe, but what should I do?
Search around. Do you intend to let yourself be resigned to death so easily?
What are you saying? Saying don't give up, dummy.
I mean exactly what I said, or would searching be just too much trouble for you?
That's why. This one-sided conversation was making him more and more irritated. Caught in the moment, he had raised his voice and his tail bristled on end. Conway scowled at Ray as if to challenge him.
I'm just saying you should at least consider the possibility.
That's just it. I know. You don't have to say it. You're telling me to just, go out and find it? Ray stared at Conway in silence and blinked slowly.
You really are a stupid cat.
The fuck you say to me?
I said I would come with you. You agreed. That's why we're here. So now you're here. Why would I want to throw you out on your own now?
A strangely lifeless sigh spilled past Conway's lips. You're saying you'll come and help me look for a way to break the curse?
Obviously.
Why?
You're a Sangha. I told you I'd train you, right?
Even if it's the same curse that's supposed to bring misfortune to the world?
What about it? This would be a different conversation if I said I'd vanish just by being touched by you.
You'll go that far? You must really want a Sangha, huh?
I won't deny that. Strength is essential. But when I help you break the curse, you'll be mine, right?
Conway was astonished. Not another word was spoken. First of all, this haughty cat before Conway's eyes seemed unlikely to act for the sake of someone else. And then he'd spoken of his actions as when and not if. Ray was unlike any cat Conway had ever met.
What?
Nothing. You're just weird. Normally no one would come near me since I'm cursed.
It's normal to judge by appearances. After all, most people are wary of their surroundings. They're afraid to be different. If you are, you'll be ostracized, simply out of fear. But if you're part of the majority, you won't be hurt by everyone's rejection.
As he finished speaking, Conway was overwhelmed. It felt like all the distrust and anger he felt towards Ray had faded. He was arrogant, but Conway could trust Ray, more than he could trust the other cats anyway.
Now, show me your wound.
Conway was still confused, but this time he obediently showed his arm. The blood of the wound had immediately dried and was already beginning to scab. His skin had begun to regain some elasticity, and the pain wasn't too bad anymore.
If that's all it is, you're fine.
With a nod, Ray let go of his hand.
Let's rest for now. Think about all this shit tomorrow.
Conway sat down on the side of the bed. His eyes turned to the window. He had finally reached Ranson. Seeing Sissa's largest city filled him with wonder. Conway sighed deeply, feeling fatigue spread throughout his body. Taking off the bag he was carrying on his back, he pulled out a wooden flask and drank some water. As Conway did this absent-mindedly, Ray approached his side. He seemed to be asking for something with his eye. While Conway wondered what was on his mind, Ray suddenly grabbed his tail. What are you doing? Let go! The tail was a Rebecca's weak point. A painful, unexpected shock ran through his body. Reflexively, he stiffened up and bared his fangs. Just like a Saiyan. Dragon Ball. Ray glanced at Conway for a moment, then gazed intently at his black tail. He ruffled the tail's fur, and Conway felt a chill run down his spine. Let go!
It's a crooked tail.
Yeah? So what? Since Ray was expressionless, it was hard to know, but his eye remained fixated on Conway's tail. Conway became embarrassed and forcibly swiped the tail from Ray's hand. You have a really nice tail yourself. Is this just how boys flirt in Catboy world? They talk about their tails? I mean, I guess it works. When he spat out those words and turned his face away, he saw Ray's large white tail sway slowly. That was the end of their conversation. The only sound in the room was the noise of the city crowd coming in through the window. Ray sat down on the side of the bed by the window in silence, and in a manner that could only be called elegant, he began to groom himself. What the hell? After staring at Ray for a moment without knowing why, Conway pulled himself together and fished for something in his flax bag. He thought that it was unusual for him to spend time in a room with another cat. That, and he'd only just met Ray. For some reason, Conway couldn't settle down. Conway dragged over the bag he'd gotten from his parents. Then he pulled out and opened up the letter on which his father's song was written. I bet the poet's gonna end up being Conway's dad. They're gonna be like, have this big reunion moment or something. No matter how many times he looked at the letters, he couldn't read them. Still, just looking at it was fine. He remembered his home in Kauru. Though not that much time had passed, Conway hardly missed it. Then, he suddenly remembered something. A ring. That was right, the ring. It was a precious item from his parents. But Conway had not put it in his bag. It was still on the shelf in his house. And now there was no way to go back and get it. No matter the reason, Conway couldn't return. Could he really do nothing but give up? He could think of no other options. Deeply regretting this, he laid down in disappointment. Conway's gaze panned to the bed next to him. Ray was looking out of the window. Occasionally, the tip of his white tail twitched gently. Conway supposed he wasn't the only one who couldn't settle down. Conway curled into a ball under his blankets. With a rustling sound, he began to groom. When he shut the world out from himself like this, he felt a bit of relief. His body temperature warmed up the blankets comfortably. Little by little, he felt sleep creeping in. While still in the middle of grooming his tail, Conway softly drifted off to sleep. Sleep, little Conway, don't you worry. The fuck? Fuck!